Hello everyone, my name is Gajendra Das Sharma and you are watching Englit, and in this video we are going to discuss about the clowns and fools of William Shakespeare. As we know that these clowns and fools they played a major role in the dramas of Shakespeare, so it is important to know from the examination point of view how important their role was in the drama. So let's start the video. If we talk about the Fools of Shakespeare, he is a character who appears in various forms in English drama, particularly in the works of Shakespeare. He appears in various forms and has a variety of origins. He is known from the medieval court jester to the licensed clown of Feast of Clowns. Feast of Fools refers to a medieval festival originally to the subdeacon to the cathedral, held about the time of the Feast of the Circumcision, 1st January, in which a lower rank cathedral officer parodies the sacred ceremonies. So it has a medieval origin as well. In the festival of the Feast of the Circumcision, the lower rank cathedral officers they used to parody the sacred ceremonies in order to provoke laughter. It was very much prevalent in French cathedrals. However, in English, Lincoln Cathedral was the one in which clowns or the Feast of Circumcision was there. In Shakespeare's time, or particularly in his company, that was known as King's Men, the part of fools were basically portrayed by two actors. First by William Kemp, he was the famous actor of the time who played most of the parts of fools in Shakespeare, or for the company of Shakespeare, the King's Men. And when William Kemp retired, he was replaced by Robert Armin. So these two actors, William Kemp and Robert Armin, chiefly portrayed the roles of fools and clowns in Shakespeare's dramas. Clowns or fools appeared in 25 of Shakespearean drama. Actually, they exist outside the rules. Outside the rule means they are not basically main characters or the principal characters on which the entire action of the plot rests. However, they contribute to the development of the play. They speak directly to the audience. They are both the part of the action on the stage and they also act as commentator on the action. They evolved out of the character Vice. Vice was a comedic temper or a comedic character in medieval festivals. So if you want to know the genesis or the origin of the fools or the clowns of William Shakespeare, so it can be traced back to the character Vice, which was a comedic temper or character in medieval festivals. The other origin can also be traced back to the morality plays. In morality plays, some characters or particularly the character Vice was used for entertainments or creating light situations in the play. This could also be said that this evolved out of European tradition of wealthy households to employ court jesters for entertainments with verbal wit, song, tricks, and pieces of wisdom. So it was a tradition in Europe to employ some kind of court jester or a clown or a fool for the private entertainment. The aristocratic families they used to have their personal private clowns for the sake of entertainment at times, other time for seeking some kind of advice. And this is also, we can also refer to Akbar Birbal. Birbal was a court jester in the court of Akbar, and at times whenever Akbar needed some sort of counsel or advice, Birbal always gave the appropriate or the wise advice to him. The fools and clowns of Shakespeare are mainly known for their wit and humor. They provide humor and witty remarks, and as such, they alleviate the tense moment of the play. Shakespeare's Fools comes in various incarnations. It plays various incarnations, various roles, and it ranges from gullible or foolish, like the clown in Winter's Tale, or a roguish person like Autolycus in the same play, The Winter's Tale. And it can also be the wise and intelligent, as the fool in King Lear. So we have a variety of fools and clowns in Shakespeare. However, if we categorize them certainly, so there are two types. First one is simple or the natural fools. Natural fool is an idiot who is basically kept for entertainment. We can have such examples of an idiot or the natural fool like Launce in Two Gentlemen of Verona, Nick Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Trinculo in The Tempest, Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. These all these fools or clowns are kept for the sake of entertainment. They are natural fools. The other category of Shakespeare's fools or clowns is the wise fools. The wise fools are kept by the characters, the principal characters, for the sake of imparting wisdom, for the sake of witty remarks, or for the sake of entertainment as well. So these characters, in their sensible advice, outshine the other characters as well, who are supposed to be pseudo sensible characters, like Feste in Twelfth Night, Touchstone in As You Like It, or the Fool in the King Lear, or the Falstaff in Henry IV Part 1, Part 2, and A Midsummer Night's Dream. So these fools, they sometimes play the mouthpiece of Shakespeare as well. They give their advice, they remark philosophically, they comment on the progress of the plot, they give advice to the principal characters when they are in need of such kind of counsel or advice. So they speak some of the wisest lines out of all pseudo-sensible characters. About the characterization of Shakespeare, the famous American poet Ralph Waldo Emerson says, "He breathed upon dead bodies and brought them into life. Not sequent centuries could hit, orbit, and sum up Shakespeare's wit." If Shakespeare is supposed to be the master of wit and repartee and witty remarks, we can see this kind of attribute of Shakespeare in his clowns and fools. So in almost all the plays of Shakespeare, we can find one or other fool or clown who is an important character for the development of the plot as well. If you follow the Oxford Companion to Shakespeare, it says fools were usually male and would often wear a distinctive costume of motley, party-colored cloth, wear a coxcomb on their head, not a bell hood of later tradition, but a removable cap, and carry a bauble or curved stick, which was often a focus for phallic humor. Motley, as we see, it is a multicolored costume that is usually worn by the clowns and the fools. As you can see in As You Like It, that motley is the only wear. About the fools of Shakespeare, Isaac Asimov in Guide to Shakespeare says that of course is the greatest secret of the successful fool, that he is not fool at all. So it was the mastery of Shakespeare to impart knowledge to his fools so as to present them as his mouthpiece and outshine other characters in intelligence and wisdom and wit. The role of fool is an emotional vacation from the more serious business of the main action. We can say it in other words that the main role of the fools was to provide a comic relief to the plot of the play. Now let us have a look at the list of clowns and fools in Shakespeare's plays. We have a fool in Timon of Athens, Autolycus in Winter's Tale, Citizen in Julius Caesar. Citizen, it is known as Citizen only. He was not given a name in the play Julius Caesar. Then there is Cloten in Cymbeline, Clown in Othello, Clown in Titus Andronicus. So there are two characters by the name of Clown who play clown themselves. So it is an important thing. Then we have Costard in Love's Labour's Lost, Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. Dogberry, who is known for his dogberryism, means that is his habit of using malapropism or misplaced or inappropriate words. Dromio of Ephesus in the Comedy of Errors, or Dromio of Syracuse in the Comedy of Errors. So there are two different characters in the same play. Then we have Falstaff in Henry IV Part 1, Part 2, and in Merry Wives of Windsor. Then we have the Great Feste in The Twelfth Night, Grumio in The Taming of the Shrew. Then we have Launce in Two Gentlemen of Verona, Launcelot Gobbo in The Merchant of Venice, Levache in All's Well That Ends Well, Nick Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Pompey in Measure for Measure, Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Speed in Two Gentlemen of Verona, the Fool in King Lear. We can have one more character, a fool, who figured in A Timon of Athens. So we have two characters by the same name, a fool in Timon of Athens, the fool in King Lear. This is to be kept in mind. Then we have the grave diggers in Hamlet, the porter in Macbeth, Thersites in Troilus and Cressida, Touchstone in As You Like It, Trinculo in The Tempest, and Yorick in Hamlet. So we have 25 plays of Shakespeare in which there are fools or clowns. Now let us talk about the important or the best clowns or fools of Shakespeare. First comes Falstaff. Falstaff figured in Henry IV Part 1 and Part 2. And he also figured in A Midsummer Night's Dream. In Henry IV Part 1, Falstaff is a companion to Prince Hall. Prince Hall is a future King Henry V, and Falstaff is a very fat, boastful, witty, and cowardly knight who spends much of his time in the Boar's Head. It is an inn. It's a name of inn. And in this very inn, where the famous character Mistress Quickly is there. And Mr. Quickly eulogizes the death of Falstaff in Henry V. So in Henry V, there is a eulogy on the death of Falstaff. Falstaff does not appear on the scene, does not appear on the stage physically, but he is eulogized by Mistress Quickly. The eulogy runs like this: Nay, sure, he is not in hell. He is in Arthur's bosom. If ever man went to Arthur's bosom, he made a finer end and went away. And it had been any Christum child. So these are the opening lines of that eulogy. In Midsummer Night's Dream, he is not shown in a favorable colors. He is a buffoonish suitor to two wives of Windsor. These two wives, they manipulated the finances of their husbands, and the husbands utilized, or he took the help of this Falstaff to pursue these wives, to flirt with these wives in order to teach them a lesson. So his task is a flirtatious, buffoonish suitor to these wives. And this character was basically portrayed on the behest, on the request of Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I was so much impressed by the portrayal of Falstaff that she wanted him to reappear in one of the plays. The real name of Falstaff is John Oldcastle. In response to Prince Hall's inquiry about him, in Henry IV Part 1, Act 3rd, Scene 3rd, line number 131 to 132, he says that 1,000 pound, Hall, 1,000,000. Thy love is worth 1,000,000. Thou owest me thy love. Then comes Touchstone. Touchstone is a clown in Duke Frederick's court, and he is a companion to Rosalind and Celia when they were banished to the forest of Arden. So he accompanied these two ladies, Rosalind and Celia, in their flight to the forest of Arden. He is known for his wisdom, wise replies, quick and apt reply, and that too his replies are to the point of silencing other people. However, sometimes his remarks are vulgar. His best known quote is, "The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool." So this epigrammatic line occurred in As You Like It, and who the speaker was? It was Touchstone. At another instance, he says, "The more pity that fools may not speak wisely, what wise men do foolishly." This line occurred in Act 1, Scene 2, line number 80 to 81. Then there come gravediggers. They occurred in the play Hamlet. They are known for their wit, intellect, and at times they get better of their superiors in their wit and witty remarks. Their remarks are philosophical, and they serve to progress the theme of death, birth, and youth and old age. Best quote of these, the gravediggers, is, "In youth when I did love, methought it was very sweet to contract all the time for my behove. Oh, methought there was nothing ameet." Then there comes Nick Bottom. Nick Bottom figured in A Midsummer Night's Dream. He is a buffoon, an idiot, and he is a leader of the workmen or the players who meet in the woods to rehearse the production of the play within a play, Pyramus and Thisbe. He is a weaver and thinks himself to be a fine actor, and he is famously transformed by Puck in donkey-headed lover of Titania. So this was the speciality of this play. He was transformed by this character Puck. He played a trick on this character, and he was transformed into a donkey-headed lover of Titania. Rosalind and Celia, they mockingly say about this wise fool, say that he is a natural fool. Fortune makes nature's natural, the cutter off to nature's wit, hath sent his natural for our whetstone. Then there comes Feste who figured in the 12th night. And he is a professional clown who earns his living by doing so, by entertaining the Duke Orsino. For Duke Orsino, he sings many songs and he tries to alleviate his lovesick soul. And at times he gives him pieces of advice. He is known for his good advice and he is one of the wisest persons in the play. His best known quote is, "Why some men are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrown upon them." About his wisdom and the quality of his remarks, the character Viola comments on him in Act 3rd, Scene 1st, line number 59 to 62. This serves as a compliment to Feste. She says, "This fellow is wise enough to play the fool, and to do that well craves a kind of wit. He must observe their mood on whom he jests, the quality of persons and the time." So in these lines, Viola not only comments or compliments the quality of Feste, rather she says what are the special or the particular qualities and expertise that a jester is supposed to have. And these qualities or attributes Shakespeare very craftfully imparts in his characters. Feste is also known for his songs. The best known song is come away death, and in sad cypress let me be laid. Fly away, breath, I am slain in by a fair cruel maid. That occurred in Act 2nd, Scene 4th, line number 50 to 53. So with these kind of songs, he tries to soothe, console the love-sick soul of Duke Orsino when he is ordered to do so. Not only this, Feste introduces the central theme with this song to Olivia as well, when he sings, "What is love? It is not hereafter. Present mirth hath present laughter. What is to come is still unsure. In delay there lies no plenty. Then come kiss me, sweet and 20. Youth's stuff will not endure." These lines occurred in Act 2nd, Scene 3rd, line number 52. Next important fool or clown is Autolycus. He figured in The Winter's Tale. And Autolycus means, it can be asked even, wolf. And he is a roguish type of fool, a peddler or a rogue, and a wandering singer who sings beautiful songs. The next important clown is Lancelot Gobbo. He featured in The Merchant of Venice. He is a kind of chatty young servant, talkative, chatty young servant, and he loves to play tricks. He plays a trick on his blind father even. He is also known for his using malapropism. Malapropism, as you know, that it is a habit of inappropriately using the words. The example can be, "This is very defect of the matter. Tears exhibit my tongue." So here he uses malapropism, defect, and in exhibit. Other character of Shakespeare who is also known for his habit of using malapropism is Dogberry. And in fact, malapropism is based on Dogberryism after this very character Dogberry. Dogberry featured in Much Ado About Nothing. The best known quote of Lancelot Gobbo is, "O heavens, this is my true begotten father, who being more than sand blind, high gravel blind, knows me not. I will try confusions with him." This line occurred in Act 2, Scene 2, line number 32 to 34. Next important fool or clown of Shakespeare is Costard, who figured in Love's Labour's Lost. He is a rustic character and is known for his wisdom. He is a wise fool. Actually, he mixes up letters he is tasked with delivering. However, he gives away other people's secret. He exposes the secret of other people as well. He was given the task of delivering letter, but he exposes the secrets of those people. And those people are other people's are the high class people, and he mocks at them as well. He is famously known for his using the longest word in Shakespeare, which is honorificably tudini tetibus. So this is the longest word that was used in all the range of Shakespeare. And who used this word? It was Costard. So it is an important point. Next come the important character, the fool, the famous fool of King Lear, and he plays very important role in this play. When Cordelia is banished from the kingdom, he takes charge of Lear's protection. He remains with King Lear in all the situations, and at times he entertains him in his sorrow, and he gives good advice when he needs. So he acts as an advocate, a companion, advisor to the king, and he is very honest to him, honest and loyal to the king. Moreover, like chorus in classical plays, he also comments on the progress of the plot as well. His best lines are: have more than thou showest, speak less than thou knowest, lend less thou owest. And his best known song is: fools had never less wit in a year, for wise men are grown foppish. They know not how their wits do wear, their manners are so apish. So that is all for now. Hopefully this video has added something to your existing knowledge of Shakespeare and Shakespeare's character. The information I shared with you in this video is important from the perspective of examination for UPTGT, UPPGT, UGC NET and other competitive examinations where English is asked. So keep learning, stay motivated, like this video, share it among your friends who are preparing for these sad examinations. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please make sure you do it right now so that you may keep receiving these kind of videos at the earliest. Thanks for watching.